In our next video for setting up an ASU jacket, we're going to start talking about DUIs, distinctive unit insignias. These are your unit crests, they're commonly referred to, but the technical term is a DUI. And it'll appear on your epaulet or shoulder loops, as they'll call it in the reg, or on your beret, or the garrison cap on the AGSU. The AGSU measurement and reg is the exact same thing for the ASU, so as we go over that, just be mindful. But all we'll need for this video, again, some handy dandy painter's tape, your handy dandy ruler, and of course some DUIs. Okay, jumping into placing the DUI on the shoulder loop. This again is pulled from DAPAM 670-1. It's going to be in paragraph 21-22 if you want to really get into the weeds on that. Just a little bit of math you'll do. You're going to want to take your ruler and you're going to want to measure the top to bottom of your DUI and then also the widest point of your DUI and get those two measurements. So I'll measure mine up real quick. I'm looking at 1 1/8, 1 1/4-ish top to bottom. And at its widest point, I'm also looking at 1 1/4. So you can write that down. I'll remember it, of course, because I also have it written down. Secondly, in the reg it states it's going to be centered from the outside edge of the button to the outside of the shoulder stitching. This here is actually the outside edge, not this. If you were to look at this as one individual piece, it might seem like this is the outside, but of course, you're wearing the jacket. This would be your interior most side, and that would be your outer edge. So get that measurement from that outer edge all the way to the seam. And I'm looking at just shy of 4 1/4. So some quick maths here. If this is 1 1/4, that whole measurement is 4 1/4. I can drop that 1 1/4 out of it. That gives me 3 inches left. If I take that and cut it in half, that's going to give me 1 1/2 on both sides. So I'll have that 1 1/2 here and 1 1/2 here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and tape that off with my painter's tape and then jump in and measure the width portion of it. A handy tip here, if you want to add your tape to the very edge of that ruler, you've already got your tick mark set in place. So what you can do is line it up to that tick mark so you know when you place your painter's tape it's going to be exactly 1 1/2 inches. Just like we talked about before, slide it out real easy, and there it is. If you're going to use the back end of this, you'll keep your little red tick mark where it is, but just add that painter's tape to the inside of it this time. Right there on that 1 1/2 inch mark. So now I can come through here like so, make sure it's straight, place it on there real gentle, slide it out. So now I have that perfectly centered block right there on the shoulder loop. Depending on the mathematics of how wide your DUIs are and how much space you actually have left here, it may give you some very obscure measurement as far as getting it completely square. If you just flip your DUI upside down, you can eyeball it pretty good. So I'll just do that for simplicity. Again, I'm just going to put my painter's tape as straight as possible. So now I've got my nice neat little pocket there to put my DUI on. Now this is not going to go all the way through the jacket. It's just going to go directly through that shoulder board itself. So let's get that dude on there. Once you peel off your painter's tape, of course, just go through, get your measurements, make sure it's as close to centered as possible. Before you get your pins on the back, you might want to push it or even pull it out just a little so it's tighter. See what you're working with. Make sure it's as close as it can be. Now again, you're not always going to get it down to that perfect 32nd of an inch, you know. But as long as it's as close as possible, it'll look pretty good. After that, just go ahead and put your backs on it, and always get some kind of microfiber rag or something. Anytime you're putting brass on or anything shiny, make sure you clean it off once your backing is put on. It may be months before you wear it, it may be a couple days, but you definitely don't want to look ate up with thumbprints and fingerprints and all that cookie dough and stuff stuck all over your brass. It'll look really jacked up. So just do a little bit of self-care, wipe it down a little bit. And progressively as you're going through, just kind of wipe everything down. Make sure everything's good. Your buttons get a little dingy sometimes. But that wraps up the DUIs.